Let's get back on track. Let's get into that defense. Jeff, you mentioned that you're making a strong prediction that when Marsh's Miami Hurricanes come up to South Bend with Shannon Dawson and Darian Mensah, Malachi Toney, Mark Fletcher, the Mario Cristobal offensive line, you're saying that Notre Dame defense is going to put the clamps on them. Walk us through who the key pieces of that defense are going to be and why that's something that you feel strongly about.
Yeah, this defense is going to be nasty this year. They got top 5 position groups in college football at all 3 levels. They returned 9 starters, all 4 starters in the secondary. They're very deep, very veteran-led. And they got young impact players kind of behind, waiting in the wings that these kids are going to be itching, to get their chance. And once they get in there, they're going to make some plays. It's the deepest defensive team that Notre Dame's ever had in my lifetime as well. The injuries that we talked about a little bit earlier, they're primed to be able to plug and play some new guys in there. So this was never Brian Kelly's strength when he was at Notre Dame. They had good defenses, but they didn't have the depth that Notre Dame has built over the last several years. And they've really done well in the portal. Notre Dame's not a team like Indiana that goes and gets 20 new portal players a year. They pick and choose and fill in the gaps that they had. And this year they had some gaps on the D-line that they need some extra help with. We'll start with the D-line. They got Francis Brewu from Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys have seen this guy, but he's a stud. Reminds me a lot of Brad Cash, who we played high school football with. Undersized, strong as an ox. Is just an absolute beast. He's a game wrecker at that D tackle position. He's going to put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. And they got Tionne Gray from Oregon, absolute massive human being. 6'5", 330, I think he is. Their new D-line coach, Chris Patridge from the Colts. He was with the Colts for several years, came over to Notre Dame. He's been a game changer for this defensive line, too. A lot of good things coming out of him. Boubacar Traore is their D-end, who is super long, super lengthy, got tons of get off the ball. He's going to be wrecking people's backfields this year. And then they got a 5-star freshman defensive end that probably won't even see a ton of meaningful playing time, but we'll get in there some. Rodney Dunham from North Carolina. Kid was a 5-star, super talented. And that D-line is just going to be nasty, which Notre Dame doesn't typically have. They usually have like one good D-lineman. They got 3 or 4 that are going to play in the NFL. And it's going to be fun to see them this year.
Yeah, Stanford Steve, he's the one that before I talked to you tonight, our Notre Dame expert, he's the one that kind of sold me. He's like, they just like NFL guys, legit on every single level, and not just like day 3 kind of throw in NFL picks, like day 1, day 2, legit NFL talent across the defense.
When you get up to that next level, when you look at their linebackers too, like this is probably, it's crazy to say, but maybe the weakest part of their defense because of how strong their secondary is and how strong their D-line is going to be. But their linebackers are filled with Buckus Watch Award winners and Drayk, Bowen, and Kyngstonn Viliamu-Asa, who I'll refer to as KVA the rest of the time because I hate saying his name.
Did you just have a stroke? What happened there?
Kyngstonn Viliamu-Asa. You'll hear it a lot on Saturdays here, Max. He is a absolute stud. He was a top 50 recruit coming out of California. Ohio State wanted him bad. Bama wanted him bad. USC wanted him bad. And he ended up choosing Notre Dame. And he kind of, said it was due to his faith that he ended up choosing South Bend. So, but the kid, unfortunately tore his ACL last November, rehabbed it all off season. And, I just saw practice clips this past week of him out there with no knee brace on. They say he's going to be ready to go week 1. I almost hope he doesn't play week 1 just to give him a little bit more time to recover. But he's on every watch list they have for linebackers. I think he's on the lot, the Nagurski, the Butkus. There's another one that he was on that I'm forgetting. But kid's an absolute stud. Drayk Bowen is kind of your prototypical linebacker that you remember playing in college but may not transition to the NFL just because of athleticism. Got recruited by Notre Dame to play baseball, so he's a super athletic kid, but just may not be a stud linebacker in the NFL like KVA probably will be. But Drayk Bowen's a senior, a captain. Just those 2 guys will be the heart and soul of that defense. KVA, they move him around a lot. He's like the chess piece, put him down on the line. Had several sacks last season, just explosive, hard to block. And then they got two other linebackers, Jane Osbury and Jalen Sneed, that have been there for several years. They're experienced. Jane Osbury started, I think, 10 games last year. So they just have a ton of talent at that linebacker position where they can rotate guys in, they keep guys fresh. If they get an injury or two for a few weeks, they're not going to lose a beat. And then going on to the secondary here, it's definitely the most impressive part of their defense. You guys obviously know Leonard Moore, All-American, completely shuts down whatever side of the field he's guarding. I think Tionne had a breakout last year against Notre Dame because nobody knew who he was, but I expect Leonard Moore to concentrate on him going into this Miami game. It'll be fun to see that matchup.
You'll refer to him as baby Jesus going forward.
But Leonard Moore,
that will be sick.
Yeah.
Tionne against Leonard Moore. I mean, 2 first round, like probably top 10 picks when they come out.
Well, Leonard Moore is also like 6 inches taller than Tionne, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, Leonard Moore's 6'2". He's like 6'2", 197. He's got all the length in the world. And I think the funny thing, like when I was looking kind of at this defense, DJ McKinney is going to be the opposite corner of Leonard Moore. He's transferred over from Colorado. He was there last year and 2 years ago when Travis Hunter was playing at Colorado. And DJ McKinney got picked on a lot at Colorado because they didn't want to throw Travis Hunter's way. So he's experienced in that. He knows the role he's stepping into opposite of another stud on the other side of the field. And I think that's the experience that Notre Dame was looking for. They didn't want to put one of these young corners, freshmen that they have waiting in the wings. They want to have to put them out there to essentially get picked on. DJ McKinney is going to get a lot of action this year. And if he can play up to, his expectations, this defense is going to be very, very hard to move the ball on. It allowed Christian Gray, who played corner last year for Notre Dame, they moved him into the nickel. That's probably his true spot. He'll probably, have a shot to play that in the NFL. Undersized kind of corner, but super quick, very good ball skills. Had some big interceptions last couple years at timely moments. And so to get him out away from the outside where he's not as natural as he is playing the slot, he'll be a great nickel player for them. And then you look at the 2 safeties. Tay Johnson is one of my favorite players in college football in recent memory. All the athleticism in the world, the instincts. Kid is a ball hawker back there. Reminds me a little bit of Ed Reed, kind of growing up, watching him. Tay Johnson kind of floats around like that and kind of has that presence to him. And then Adon Shuler is going to be their other safety who, multi-year starter, as solid as could be. He'll, all 4 of these guys, they truly have about 5 or 6 guys in their defensive backfield right now that could play in the NFL, which I can't remember a Notre Dame team in recent history that had like all NFL caliber players. They have a safety, Luke Tolich. He's a white guy from Wyoming who's never really had a chance to play, but you're to start. But every time he's got in there, he's made plays. He blocked a punt last year. He scored on a special teams play. He's 6'4", I think. Safety, just knocks people off their feet too. He's a hard hitter. He reminds me a lot of like Harrison Smith, ex-Notre Dame safety, played 15 years in the NFL. Very similar type player to him. So I think this secondary is going to be very, very hard to move the ball on, especially when you got the pressure coming up front from their D-line, their linebackers. I don't know if you had to
get ready, Marsh.
If you had to put like an over-under on how many points Notre Dame gives up their first, I think that Miami game is like the 7th game of the year. Their first 6 games, if you put like over under 40 points on it, I'd probably say they give up less than that.
I think, let's see, November 7th is Miami.
I got their schedule. They open with Wisconsin and Lambeau, and then they play Rice and Michigan State, and then they're at Purdue, at Bill Belichick, North Carolina, and then Stanford, and at BYU, and then Navy at the Patriots Stadium. BYU could score some points. Is there any reason to be not concerned, but at least take Wisconsin? I think Wisconsin's going to be a little bit better. I think Fickle's fighting for his job. They've been very bad the last few years because their transfer quarterback gets hurt like the first game, second game of every season. If they get a little bit better quarterback health luck, Wisconsin could be interesting. They brought some talent in, but I'd imagine that seems like it should be a fairly easy one with like a 21.5 point spread, I think, to open the season.
Yeah, I just don't see him giving up more than like 10 points to any of these first 6 games. Like, I think maybe a team scores a late garbage touchdown or something. I don't see a weakness in this defense at all. And the teams they're playing aren't super high-powered offense either, so.
No, I look at their schedule. I mean, it's a cakewalk. The Big Ten teams that they got are I mean, Wisconsin, we talked about it, but Luke Fickell probably coaching for his job, if I had to guess. And that would be a massive upset. But do they have the firepower? I don't think so. Rice, check. Michigan State, rebuild. Purdue, awful. At North Carolina, Bill Belichick, I mean, like, it'd be kind of fun for him to make this interesting. Like, what better thing to get him on the map than to make it interesting in Chapel Hill against the Domers? But, I mean, reality, I think in the ACC preview we talked about, they have like a quarterback battle between 5 different guys. That's not a good sign. Stanford, that's a joke. But then, I mean, we talk about the BYU Super Soakers, and I think old Bear Bachmeyer and LJ Martin might have a little discussion there. They might have a little something to say for the Domers. I think, they're gonna put on a bit of a show. I think, to your point, Jeff, like, all these games are going to be pretty low scoring, except for, depending on whether the Florida boys can hold up in the weather. Darian Mensah and Malachi Toney. I mean, if they can hold up in the weather, no, I think that's the biggest thing, man. Is can the Florida boys hold up in the cold? That's the only concern I have, because that offense is going to be high flying. And then SMU too. I mean, those are 3 offenses that'll be interesting to see against this team. But I would agree. I think it's mostly lower score games.
SMU will be interesting for sure, but Marsh, to get into it with you, what happened the last 2 times Miami came up north? Because they played once at Soldier Field in October, and they played at Notre Dame in October.
Yeah, convicts don't do well up north. That's a fact. We like our rec time in the yard when it's about 85 and sunny.
I mean, has Malachi Toney ever been in cold weather? Like, some of these guys,
I don't even know if he's ever left the state of Florida.
That's what I'm saying. Some of these guys have never experienced, and like November in South Bend, the wind coming off Lake Michigan, it's a different cold. And it is. It's
the biggest thing is going to be Miami's backfield is loaded. And they're going to lean on the wrecker, Mark Fletcher. They're going to lean on Jordan Lyle. They're going to lean on Jamari Brown. I mean, I think it'll be very interesting to see the dynamic of that game, because I think Miami's season is going to be a lot of 40 points, 45 points every week. And then it's going to come to Notre Dame and it's going to say, okay, or even Clemson on the road earlier than that in October. I think their defense will be a little bit better too. But when you're in these road environments, how does that change? How do you handle the pressure? How do you handle the adversity? But then, sure, we get through Death Valley when it's still 80 degrees out. You get to Notre Dame and South Bend when it's probably going to be 10 degrees and a 15-mile-an-hour wind. I'm not nervous, but I'm interested to see how they hold up. I think there's an adversity thing there, and if Miami's ever going to get over the hump, they got to be able to handle it.
Yeah,